Silence wasn't surrender. It was strategy.
The life I thought I understood unraveled quietly, without shouting or drama. It began with small absences, little gaps in time that I explained away as ambition and stress. I told myself that long hours and a growing distance were just the normal costs of adulthood. The price of building a successful life together. To anyone looking in, our home was perfect. It was filled with laughter during the holidays, and our walls were lined with carefully staged family photos, a testament to a life well lived. But behind those closed doors, something essential was fading away. The late nights started, always framed as unavoidable work obligations. Conversations were cut short, and affection, once freely given, became rationed, handed out carefully like a scarce resource. I felt a growing unease, a knot in my stomach that I chose to ignore. Denial felt safer than confrontation. Admitting something was wrong felt like it would make it real. Then the money started flowing out faster than before, disguised as professional expenses and investments in self-improvement. I trusted the explanations without ever verifying them. The first lie I discovered didn't break me. It was small enough to be explained away, but it did something else. It prepared me. The second lie confirmed what my gut, my instincts, had been screaming at me for months. Truth has a way of repeating itself, getting louder each time, until you finally acknowledge it. And through this, I learned a crucial lesson. Betrayal rarely starts with the final act of infidelity. It starts much earlier with a subtle sense of entitlement, the belief that the rules no longer apply. The real shift came when the narrative was flipped on me. I was told the problem wasn't the dishonesty, but my need for control. That I was outdated, predictable, replaceable. This new idea of rewriting the rules of our commitment was presented to me as progress, as a form of evolution in our relationship. The word freedom was used as a justification for pure selfishness. I just listened quietly as these explanations were offered, sounding so rehearsed, so polished, they felt like they were written for an audience, not for me. The word open was used as camouflage, a pretty veil to hide a simple, ugly betrayal. What shocked me wasn't the request itself, but the absolute certainty behind it. The decision had already been made, without me. My role was simply to accept it. I didn't shout, I didn't argue, I just observed. I realized in that moment that arguing would only legitimize the twisted narrative being constructed. Silence, in that moment, gave me clarity. It was in that quiet space that I began to prepare. I started gathering documents, understanding the legal realities of our situation. Knowledge slowly replaced confusion, and with it came a strange sense of calm. The whole dynamic of our household shifted overnight. The comfortable routine was replaced by a thick, unspoken tension. My focus wasn't on reacting to the chaos, but on creating stability, a small island of normalcy for my children. And the children, they noticed everything, even the things left unsaid. They started asking careful, thoughtful questions that revealed a deep awareness of the shifting ground beneath their feet. I chose to answer them with honesty, but without cruelty. I gave them truth, but without the messy adult details. What followed wasn't reconciliation, it was an escalation. Dialogue was replaced with ultimatums. I was given a new reality and told to accept it, but this new version required me to erase my self-respect, my dignity, and that was a price I was unwilling to pay. I drew my boundaries clearly and firmly. The divorce filing came as a surprise to them, but only because my calmness had been mistaken for compliance. People often assume that if you're not shouting, you must be agreeing. The fallout was immediate and chaotic. The story of our separation changed depending on the audience. Accusations were thrown around to replace any sense of accountability. Responsibility was deflected at every turn. But the legal proceedings stripped all the emotion away and exposed the cold, hard facts. And the facts, as it turned out, were very unkind to deception. That prenuptial agreement, the one that seemed like a mere ceremony years ago, became decisive. My quiet preparation mattered. The custody discussions were the most revealing. They laid bare everyone's true priorities. In the end, consistency outweighed grand promises. The court favored stability over performance. And for me, that was the only thing that mattered. My life downsized quickly after that. The house got smaller, the budget got tighter, but my world became infinitely more peaceful. The silence in my new home felt different. It wasn't the silence of things unsaid or secrets being kept. It was a silence of honesty. My children adapted faster than I ever expected, guided by the simple power of routine and constant reassurance. Their resilience surprised me every single day. The other life, the one I left behind, continued loudly for a while. But all that noise was just a way to disguise a deep insecurity. Eventually, I heard that the same patterns were repeating themselves, just with new people. History has a funny way of recycling lessons until they are learned. Every so often, attempts would be made to rewrite our past, to paint a different picture. They all failed simply because I refused to cooperate with the fiction. I focused my energy on being present for my children, not on proving a point to anyone else. And that presence, that quiet focus, mattered more than anything. Support came from the most unexpected places, from people I barely knew. Judgment, on the other hand, came from the most predictable ones. In the process, I learned who in my life valued integrity over comfort. Those are the relationships that endured. Time passed unevenly. It was marked by periods of intense growth, not just healing. The healing came later, slowly. My home changed again, but this time it was intentional. It became quieter but fundamentally honest. Laughter returned at first cautiously, as if testing the safety of the space, but then it settled in. It stayed. We formed new routines, built around authenticity rather than appearance. Life simplified. I discovered a new kind of strength, one rooted in consistency, not in dominance. Respect replaced the need for control. My children grew steadier, their confidence rebuilding naturally, day by day. Their questions became fewer, and I stopped feeling the need to explain myself to anyone. The truth I found required no defense. Occasionally, a pang of regret would surface, what if, but it had no power over me anymore. It would just pass. I came to understand that freedom without responsibility is just abandonment. Progress without integrity is just destruction. My story didn't end with a dramatic reconciliation. It ended with clarity. The loss transformed into a new direction. The pain sharpened into a new perspective. I didn't win anything. I just preserved what was most important. Standing alone no longer frightened me. In fact, it grounded me. I rebuilt my life slowly, intentionally, without any sense of urgency. That patience was a gift I gave myself. Trust returned, but it started inward before I ever extended it outward again. Self-respect became my foundation. The future no longer promised perfection, and I was okay with that. Instead, it promised honesty. Some connections were lost forever. Others grew stronger than I could have imagined. I learned that love simply cannot survive contempt, especially when it's disguised as personal evolution. Real commitment requires mutual respect. The ending wasn't dramatic, it was final. And in refusing to accept a rewritten truth that erased my dignity, I reclaimed a life built not on someone else's permission, but on my own principles. And that single choice, that quiet refusal, changed everything. Thank you for listening.